Okay, hi. So welcome everybody. I'm so excited to have all of you here. I hope that you can hear me okay. I love seeing where everybody is. I just want to say thank you for being here. This is Amelia on here. She is my online manager, but she pointed out that this is the most people I've ever had for one of my promo events. So I'm so excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There are so many other places where you could be. There's so many other people that you can learn from. So I just first want to say thank you so much for being here, for being in my community, for caring what I have to say, and just for taking the time out of your day and joining us live. If you're watching the replay, joining us and taking the time to watch the replay. So I appreciate all of you so much. We'll get into why I played that song. I have a song list on my YouTube, which is sexy songs, and we're going to talk about embodiment. But that's one of the songs that I listen to probably every day. It's just like I'm an old househead. So I love dance music, and it's just got like this funky beat. And it just helps me move my thoughts and all of the things out of my body. And I'm not one to do crazy ecstatic dancing. There's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But what you saw me chair dancing to, that's probably the extent usually of the shit that I do. So it can look different for everybody. If you are non-emotive like me, the chair dancing is usually as good as it gets, but we'll talk about that. So there are so many people here from so many different places. So just welcome from all around the world. I am, American, immigrant living here in Italy. And so we have people from all over the world. And so it's just so cool to have such an international crew. Let's see. So I have my notes so I don't miss a thing. And I'm excited to dive in. So let's see. Okay, so we're here because Ignite, the doors are opening today. We're here because of that program that starts, but whether or not you decide to sign up for that, you're going to get a ton out of this workshop. We're talking specifically about things that are covered. I'll tell you which modules they're in so that you know what is covered where within the program. I hope that you have a pen and some paper because there's going to be lots of information, and will be pausing in between. This is an interactive workshop, so I'm not just going to talk at you for the whole time. And then we'll open it up to a Q&A, like a full Q&A at the end as well. But this is all the stuff that I use with my clients. It's all of the things that I have used in my own business. It's how I've grown my business from 86,000 cash in 2020 to over 177,000 last year in 2021. This is literally all of the same stuff. No matter where you are in business, this is what I'll teach you and what my clients learn. So if you are looking to get hired by your first client, you're in the perfect place. If you are along and you are 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, like some of my clients, you are in the perfect place. It's not like you get to a new level and I spring a new strategy on you, or I spring new shit on you. This is the same stuff that we're talking about over and over and over. And it just gets easier and easier and easier as you start to lay this over all of the things that you are selling, all of the programs, products, all of that. And so you can take this no matter where you are in your business. You're in the perfect place. So don't feel like, oh, I'm not far enough along yet, or maybe I'm too far, because it'll be a refresher course or something new is going to land for you and be like, oh, I fucking get it now. Okay, cool. Okay, so what we're going to talk about for the next we'll say 90 minutes. It might go to 2 hours. If you have to leave, you can catch the remaining part. But I will try to keep it condensed. So we are going to talk about the 3 main pieces of content that you can be creating during your launches to really turn up the heat. We're going to talk about the 3 ways to shift your beliefs around selling and money so that you can really start to light shit on fire and make those sizzling sales online. And then we're also going to talk about the 3 different ways that you can really start to put out the flames of fear and shame and that perfectionism shit that just keeps us hiding and keeps us from playing bigger and playing all out. So before we get started, I would love to hear in the chat box, if you just want to pop in, what do you want to get out of the workshop today? What are you hoping to walk away with? Yes, Elijah. Definitely a chair dancer. So just drop in the comments. What do you want to walk away with? What's the number one thing that you want to learn or walk away with? So ideas for content that explodes this launch. Excellent. Creating more authentic content. So same thing, action and reshape. Yeah, so we're definitely going to be talking about some strategy, mindset, and then the like personal piece for this. How the fuck to be consistent with content creation. I love it. Authentic content that converts. Excellent. How to make an impact. Excellent. Consistency. That's a big one. Perfect. 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 Content that can launch and convert and cut through all competitors. Money. Okay. Excellent. Cool. Okay. So let's first talk about the 3 different kinds of content that I have for you today. So in Ignite, I teach the 7 different kinds, but we just don't have time for that. So I'm going to talk to you about the 3 core pieces of content, and then we'll see maybe where you're seeing some gaps. So the one that tends to be usually easier for people is teaching. So this is where you really start to show up as like with authority. It's where you talk about you teach and you talk about the things that you do. This is also where people start to get results from you. So they start to get an idea of what it's like to work with you, and you start to give them mini wins, and they realize this is often, you'll start to hear like, holy shit, I got so much great stuff from your free content. Like I just can't not hire you because I can't even imagine what I'm going to get in your paid containers. So this means that you're teaching, you're giving them the information, and they're really starting to implement what you're teaching. So this can be in the form of like lists, different exercises. You can walk them through little like mini practices. Now, this is whether you're doing Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, stories, written content. There's lots of different ways to deliver the teaching piece. But you want to make sure that it's like bite-sized, and which is sometimes really hard because you're so fucking good at what you do that you just want to give them like all of the information. But you have to remember that oftentimes when they're coming to you, it's because they are probably already feeling overwhelmed. They're not sure where to start. They might be struggling with the thing that you're teaching. So make sure that during this time, like in each piece of content, that you're giving them just smaller bite-sized pieces, smaller parts of what you teach. And the incentive then is, did you learn from this? Did you get anything from the Facebook Live or the workshop today? Great. Can you imagine what you're going to learn when you step into this container with me? Now, I am a firm believer of give it all away. You can't, there is literally no way, like you're going to get a ton out of the workshop today, but there is not like, it's not even comparable to what you're going to get in 12 weeks of coaching with me. I can tell you literally all of these things, and I can tell you the strategy of launching and all of that, which we'll be covering in Ignite, but you don't have me walking you through it. You don't have me like helping you make small tweaks. You don't have me, coaching you through the mindset piece, which is really the biggest part of business. So just really trust that you can never give too much away, because it's not you, right? It's just your written words. So really lean into that, really trust that, because when you start to hold back on your content, then it starts to get like, like kind of like clunky, right? And so we want this to just be like, here's all the things. Did you learn something today? Did you get a lot out of this? Great. Then the next step is to join me in this program, hire me one-on-one, those sort of things. Let's see. So as you're teaching, this really starts to establish you as the go-to person, and then they start to look to you and they trust you. So this is where you really, and sales are all about relationships. It's all about, I know that based on the information that you've given me in your free content, I know that you're going to help me get the results that I'm looking for, because I've already gotten a bunch of great information, huge breakthroughs in your free content. So of course I'm going to hire you. So the second piece, which is the fun piece, are testimonials. So Melissa Cassera said, facts tell and stories sell. And so one way that we can show what we're doing and the work that we do is by telling the stories of our clients and what they've gone through and the transformation they've experienced. And not just the transformation after the time that we've had together, but also during. So some people, if it's like a 6-month container, there's going to be transformations and breakthroughs throughout the entire time. So you don't have to wait until the container's done. You can share testimonials and, screenshots and like short quotes. Make sure that you're getting permission, like especially before you tag anybody or screenshot, if you're using their name, if you're telling anything that's like really specific to your clients. There are ways to work around this. I say this because it's easier for me as a business coach, but like if you're a sex coach or a relationship coach, or you're doing more of the like emotional work in terms of coaching, you may have to get creative around this, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to share testimonials. So you can do this. Like one thing I do in the mastermind is I weekly ask for brags. What are you bragging about? What went well? And so these are just like little snippets that I can share on a consistent basis, so that people are consistently reminded of the results that my clients are getting, the breakthroughs that they're having, and all of those things. You can create graphics in Canva. Side note, if this is not too time consuming, Canva can be like a great place to brand your stuff and to have fun graphics. But if this is like, if it's taking you more than like 30 minutes to do anything in Canva, either hire it out or just fucking ditch it, because this is where people are going to get really sidetracked. I've seen people get very derailed. And it really causes you to lose focus. So there's a caveat to that. You can ask permission. Some people want to be shouted out. So there are times where, like I ask clients, hey, can I tag you? Like, do you need me to remove your name? And they're like, no, like I want people to know what's going on. I want them to know, like, I want to be cheered on. I want to be celebrated. So check in with your clients and ask them. And this also gives your clients more exposure in front of your audience. So you can have them on your website. You can link their websites. Like on my website, I have hyperlinks to my clients' websites. So it just gives them more exposure and shows people kind of the range of the different kinds of clients that you work with. What else? Yeah, and testimonials really, they go from you telling people what you're doing to you showing people what you're doing and the work that you are, what you're working on with your clients and the different kinds of like your range as a coach. Like some people are going to have these wins and maybe they're more emotional. What do I want to say? Like they're the intangible. So I felt more confident. I was able to ask for what I wanted. I'm more assertive in my relationship. Or it's like, yeah, I got hired 5 times. I sold out my program, like very specific to that. So it's great to show that. So the third one, which is a huge edge for people, is addressing objections in your content. And I will fully admit that this was a huge edge for me, and something that I only recently started doing. So if that's any indication, I'm 7 years into business, and I just started doing this because it was so wildly uncomfortable. And also, when you address people's objections, so I would say the number one, for me anyway, the number one objection I get is money. And there's also something underneath that most of the times, right? Yes, like there is hands down, like I can't pay rent if I pay you. Great, then this isn't going to work because you need your basic, needs met. Let's talk when you're in a different situation. But yes, of course, please pay your bills. But saying I can't afford it, like I would love to do this, but I can't afford it. Or I'd love to do this, but that means there's an opportunity to get curious. You're not coaching people through a no. Like if it is a no, you're not going to address that objection. Like, actually, this doesn't feel like a great fit. Cool. Thanks for the conversation. But if it's a yes, but that's when you're looking into. So oftentimes it's a fear of commitment. They have invested before and they didn't get the return on investment that they wanted. They don't trust themselves to put it all on the line. Maybe they don't trust you yet, which is totally fine, right? Like they just need more time in your audience. Maybe they need to join a smaller, like lower investment container before they invest in one-on-one. There's just so many reasons. One of the bonuses for Ignite is addressing objections in your content. And I go through the most popular things that I've heard and ways to address these in your content, because this is something that is really hard for a lot of people. So when you do this in your content, it also makes your sales calls a lot easier because you're already talking about it online. And so you can get a bit more, direct, maybe more direct than what you're willing to do on a sales call, especially if they're brand new to your community. So if it's somebody who I have known for a long time, I might be higher gradient on my sales call with them because we've built that rapport and that relationship. But if it's somebody that's brand new, I haven't built that trust yet. I haven't built that rapport. So I'm probably not going to be as direct, but I can be more direct in my content. So if that is also one of the parts of your sales call that maybe feels a little like, oh, they said no, but like, I don't really know what to say it in your content. Addressing the objections really lets your community know that you see them, that you get it, that you are aware that there's fears and doubts and hesitations that are starting to come up. Talk about when you had those reservations yourself. Share your own stories about how when you were investing at a higher level and stepping into another level of a container, how it scared the shit out of you. I imagine all of us have at one point invested the most money we've ever invested. And that did not come without fears. It did not come without doubts. And so if we can walk our clients through this, or potential clients, right, and community, so if we can walk them through this, they trust that we'll be able to hold them in literally anything that they come to us with. Because the essence of coaching is basically figure out what they want, figure out what's in the way, and then help them move that obstacle out of the way. That is literally what coaching is. So if they come to us on a sales call and I want this, but money, and we're like, sorry, I only work with people who are all in, full on, yes. Call me when you're fully ready. Like, oh, okay, I'll call somebody else. That might work for some people. That is not how I approach it. And so when you hear the yes buts, pay attention, take notes, start to see what comes up for you too. And as you can share your own story, and then what you can also do too is if you have clients who were a yes but, and they made the decision to move forward, ask them if you can have a conversation about that. Maybe set some time aside, like 15 minutes. Like, hey, I'd love to get a little bit more information. I know that you were on the fence about joining me for this program, and I'd love to hear like what helped you make that decision, because it just gives you more information about where your community is and what you need to be talking about in your content. So share your story. This is really where you can connect with your community on a deeper level. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. And then also trusting that everything that you talk about in this launch that you have is going to help you for your subsequent launches. So they might still be a no, but they know that you're willing to walk with them on this path, that you see them and understand them, and then maybe next time it feels like a better fit. So I'm going to pause here and open this up for questions, thoughts. So which one of these can you add or maybe is missing in your content? And if anybody wants to pop on and talk to me about it, I would love to hear that too. Or you can just put it in the chat box.
I have a question. Is this okay time?
Yeah, Melissa, hi.
Hey, thanks so much for this.
Yeah.
When you brought up the objections piece, I think that I avoid that a lot. And I think I worry about like shaming them, like if they're in a different place than where I'm at. And this would be, I'm at kind of starting, like I'm still trying to get people on the phone or, on a call. So for example, I did a Facebook Live for my people for intimacy after breast cancer. And so we're talking about sex and the things that can get in the way. And really it was, the theme is to reconnect with yourself first, right? And your scars and all these things. So, but the comment that someone might have was like, I was like, what other questions do you have? And someone asked about libido, and is there a pill for that? So then I could tell her like, you're wanting a quick fix for something that is this huge process of healing and, whatever. And nutrition isn't, I have all the supplements, but that's not my game. And so I just leave it. Like I find I'm not commenting on her post because I don't want to shame her. Like, oh, you're trying to do this. You know what I mean? Like that. And I'm sure it shows up in other ways of visibility and things like that. But I think one of the things is I don't want to make my, these women wrong. And so I think I straddle that piece of how to address objections or expand the thought of where they think this is as far as they can get versus anyway. That's kind of what I show up. I don't know if that shows up for other people, but definitely something this week that I was very like, oh, that I don't know what to do with that.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing. So I would just get curious with that. And maybe that's not a conversation necessarily like that. I would feel for me personally, like to say like, hey, I would love to explore this a bit more with you. Are you open to having a conversation in the DMs? Because it feels like this is maybe more like, if you're willing to, I'd love to take this like more private so I can get some more information. But just how can you get curious about that and start to explore it a little bit more?
And that's
Like
a
in that
point where you would ask for the call, like at that statement?
No, I would just say like, hey, I'm happy to have this conversation on this thread, but if you'd feel more comfortable, I'd love to get in the DMs. Like, I would love to, is it okay if I send you a message just to gather more information? I mean, maybe she's just like, no, I'm an open book. Like, let's talk about it here, because there is so much value in having those conversations publicly. Because, right, if she's asking this, then there's most likely there's other people who have the same question. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say other people have that question. Yeah, I think too, just communicating, like I use it, I wonder if this is an example of how I can communicate that it's so much more. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of like everything that I do, is that the doctor's pill didn't work for you and you don't want another surgery. So, those kinds of things. So it makes me just stop. Like I think there's so like how you put so much in this little like reply on Facebook or whatever. Like
I mean, so what you could do is say like, this is a great question. I'm actually going to do a Facebook Live on this because there's so much info here. So turn it into content.
So then I can be more chatty and explain as opposed to this little cool. Okay.
Yeah, and you can give them information, you can share your story. So like during this thing too, so you can share your story. Was there another client who had these same thoughts that you've walked them through this? So you're giving them facts, you're sharing stories, you're hitting it from different angles so that they're able to kind of like see where they fit into that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tiny little roadblocks, and then a week goes by and I've already forgotten what the heck we were doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, eventually what happens with my clients is that they are able to start thinking with a marketing brain where they start to see everything as content. Now, that's not to like turn your, deepest, darkest things, like, if there's a breakdown or a rupture, like you don't have to turn around and turn it right into content, right? But that was a perfect example of like, oh, somebody had a question or a comment. Great. Like, or maybe you're seeing things on a similar, like a coach who does similar things, and you're seeing people ask questions and you're like, oh, I could totally answer this. Write your own post. I get a ton of content that way where I see people asking things in different groups and I'm like, oh God, like I've got all the answers for this. So then I turn around and write a post or do a Facebook Live, or I can turn it into something. So really starting to shift your lens and seeing where can I be of service? And maybe sometimes you answer questions in groups and you're like, this is good. Copy and paste it and turn it to your own post. You can like frame it so that you're able to, so like it makes sense, right? But if that is one of your strategies, is supporting people in other groups, don't like let that piece of gold advice or feedback just die in the group, right? Turn it into your own piece of content. Yes, Amal, I see your hand raised. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I guess my question is around like, what if you can like think of 2 objections, like figuring out what the objections are and posting, asking like, why haven't you signed up, or why haven't you joined, or what's stopping you, and like crickets. So like if there is no feedback of like what are the objections, What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a point, this is very important, where you have to let go of getting the feedback, getting the likes, getting the interaction, and just trusting that the people who needed to see that objection addressed, they might feel called out. They might be like, oh, this cut me to my core, right? But this is where we start to call people on their bullshit, and we start to call people on like what is holding them back. And you can be more, you can be softer, you can be super direct and be like, when are you going to stop doing this? Right? Like, when are you going to, if you want this, like, just fucking do it. Like, when are you going to stop holding yourself back? Or you can be more gentle with it. Right. But on sales posts, it is not uncommon to hear complete crickets, because people are just like, it doesn't mean that they're not being seen and being read. It just means that people are like, oh, if I interact, like maybe they'll think I want to join, but I do want to join. But so just really trust that when we're being more direct in our content and asking people like, what's keeping you from signing up, we may not even get a response, but we're just slowly, like, they're thinking about it. Like, why aren't I signing up? Why do I keep stalling on this? And so they're working it out on their end. And so you just have to trust that. It sucks. Though. I won't lie. It does suck. Like when there's crickets and you're like, this is so embarrassing.
Well, like it's like kind of tracking analytics and seeing like high views and then like no signups and no responses. There is a social post. So, and interactions are high, but not responding to a sales post. Yeah. That's kind of like, okay, so like, how do I invent objections, and how can I address objections when I like, this is fucking awesome. Why are you not signing up?
Totally. So I would say like what you could do is post in other groups and ask them, so what are some reasons other than like you just really didn't have the money? What are some reasons why you didn't sign up for a program you had your eye on? I'm trying to get a better understanding of people's objections to coaching.
Love that.
Right. And so you maybe post that on your page, other groups where your ideal clients are. But you can start to think too of like, okay, so, I mean, I feel like this is just like blanket. So like, they don't feel ready. They don't feel like they're far enough along. They feel like maybe they're too far enough along, like they're too far along. They've invested and they didn't get the results they wanted. Like this is literally across the board. Doesn't matter what your niche is. They've never invested this much money in themselves before. They don't want to take money away from the family. They have to talk to their partner first. Their partner's never on board. So I don't know how many I just listed off, but literally all of those are objections that you can address. Everybody here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, one more. Noor. Did I say your name right?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
I have two things, one to ask, and the other one is just a small concern. So one is there like a structure when it comes to writing objections? What things I need to address in like, for example, each paragraph or something? And then my concern is how can I write it without feeling or without coming off as judgy?
So there's no like talk about this first, then this, then this. There's not like an outline. So I feel like when we share our own experiences, that's when we can start to shift some of these feelings of like, oh, I don't want to shame them. I don't want to feel judgy. We can share our personal experience and offer that to people to help them see a different point of view and invite them into choosing a different way.
Okay.
Right. And so then if we also share our client's experience of, I'm just gonna, of, my client, and, ask permission, or if you want to change the name. So when my client first got on a consultation, they were really nervous. They felt like they didn't know enough and that they needed to get hired before they hired me, which this is like a catch-22, right? So like the work we're going to do is, and so I would just like walk them through this. Like, this is a chicken or an egg conversation where you want to get hired before you hire me, but you're having trouble getting hired.
Mm.
And so what would it feel like to step into this now and trust that what you desire is on the other side of this versus continuing to put this off?
Okay.
Did that feel judgy? Did that feel?
No, that was perfect. That was easy
Yeah.
to understand. So you mentioned about objection about spouse saying no. Have you experienced that, and how did you overcome it if you did?
Yeah, many times. And so sometimes this is like on the consultation. And so I will, we want to really respect people and their relationship dynamics. Just because we might not check in with our partners and like don't ask permission or don't like commingle finances, like we really have to leave our own shit at the door when we're having these conversations and be really respectful. And so when this happens, my question is always, great. So when you usually present your partner with something that you want to do, are they usually on board? Are they supportive of you? And then this conversation can go, right? So like, if it's always a yes, so like, great, cool. So like, what are you going to talk about tonight? Like, how are you going to present this to them? And if it's a no, then it's like, well, I'm willing to get on the phone with both of you. If they need more information, I'm happy to answer questions for them. And also like, as you're coaching them through this too. So like, I want to set my potential client up for success. So how are you planning to talk to them? Because it's a different conversation if they go to their partner and say, I really want to do this, and I would really love your support, versus I really want to do this. Can I have your permission to do it? And so this is potentially like a huge breakthrough just on the consultation with them, of helping them to have an empowered conversation with their partner around, I really want to do this and I'm fully in, and I would really love to have your support. It might be the first direct conversation that they've had with their partner, like ever, or in a long time. And so just, there's no like real scripts for this, but just getting curious and like, great. So what do you need to talk about? Like, how do these conversations usually go? What's the dynamic here? And just getting curious and understanding what's actually happening.
That's very clear. Thank you, Shannon.
Great. You're welcome. Okay. There's lots in the chat box, and I want to make sure that we get to all of this. So we can, if there's any questions in there, then I'm going to, how do I lower hand? Okay. We can also do them at the Q&A. Okay. So the next part of this is mindset. So these are what we're talking about right here is going to be in modules 3 and 4. So 3 ways to shift your beliefs around selling online. Because this is hard, right? I did see somebody, I saw Tonya ask about sales posts, and we can talk about that in the Q&A as well, but that's definitely one of the ones that we cover in Ignite. But so as you're shifting your beliefs around selling online, this is something that can feel really sticky for a lot of people. And it's not just if you're brand new. It's if you have a new program that you've never sold before. It's if you've raised your prices. If you didn't get the signups for the last program that you wanted, now you're selling it again. You're like running that program again. And you're like, oh, this feels, because I didn't get all the signups, right? So don't think just because you're further along that you're immune, and don't assume that, oh, this will go away. When I'm at this level, this will go away. I won't have these feelings anymore. I wish that I could say that. And it's sad that I can't. But what does change is how you feel about it. Yes, new level, new devil, 100%. How you feel about it changes. The thoughts that you have about it changes. How you process it and how quickly you come out of this tailspin changes. And the way that that changes is by doing consistent mindset work. So for me, this looks like journaling every single day. It is a non-negotiable for me. It did not always look like this. I was one of those people that was like kicking and screaming. A lot of my clients want to fight me about this when we first start working together. And this is the thing that I know for sure changes how you feel about your business. It changes how you feel about your pricing and about selling and talking about your programs online and during your sales calls. So this could, and this, there's so many fucking good bonuses in Ignite, but this is one of them, like how to rapidly shift your mindset through journaling is one of my more popular trainings that I've done. But we talk about, so what my mindset work looked like is brags. So I do, here's my journal. So it's not like super big, but I'll do a page of brags, a page of I decides. So I decide this launch is selling out. I decide that this is the easiest launch that I've ever done. I decide that I am a boss at talking about money. I decide. So this is how, whatever you're struggling with in your business, take it to your journal. What do you want to be true instead? Like if you're struggling with creating content and how hard it is, I decide that content drops in and I have more content than I know what to do with. If it's around sales, I decide that sales is service and people can't wait to sign up for my program. I decide that people can't wait to pay me. I decide that I'm responsible with money. So also, this is why it's important to really be doing your own personal development work. Because as you heal your money stuff, as you clean up your own thoughts and beliefs around money and what you were raised with and the beliefs that you were raised with and how easy earning money gets to be and how rich people aren't awful. Some of them are, but they don't have to be, right? And so like, if you're holding these beliefs that, you know, some of the stuff that I heard was like, rich people are assholes, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I'm never going to make that kind of money. Marry rich because you're not that smart. All of this shit, right? Like has played into my money stuff. So I have to do my own work on myself. And so this is an invitation for you. What work are you doing around your own money stuff and your beliefs? So this could be you writing out like 20 beliefs that you have around money, or maybe 20 things that you heard growing up or that you kind of took in, right? And then countering each one of those beliefs with what do you want to be true instead? So this is like, it's similar to like a fear cleanse. And you can do this and really, I mean, your mindset work is where you're coaching yourself. And so, right. So like if you have fears around selling, around posting content, around getting on coaching calls, like if you have fears around actually getting hired, cater your mindset work to the things and the fears and the doubts that are coming up. And this is how you really start to shift what's happening inside of you. But mindset is like 90% of business. And the further along that I get, the more that can't be true. I didn't hire my coach like at her highest level mastermind because we're getting new strategy. I hired her because the mindset that it takes to get to those next levels, whether you want your first client, you're trying to hit your first 6 figures, multiple 6, 7, it's the mindset piece that's going to get you there, right? Because you don't want to be changing your strategy every time, because then you're just like you're on wobbly legs. Your strategy stays the same. It's the mindset work that is going to get you to those next levels. Yeah, so not believing every single thought I have has also been true. Yeah, so You're Badass at Making Money, Playing Big by Tara Moore, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So these are all books that I highly, highly recommend if you're looking for work specifically around mindset. Vision letters too. So writing out vision letters. So it's not like your mindset has to, so you have to do brags, you have to do a fear cleanse, and this is what you're doing every day. Like if you are doing no mindset work, I don't want to be like, oh, sit down for an hour. That's right. So start with 10 minutes. It's just like any other practice, right? So like if you're trying to get back into the gym and you're like, I don't want to work out for a full hour, fine, just go do something for 10 minutes. Walk around the block, baby steps. So let's baby step this. So maybe you do some brags. So maybe it's like 5 brags, 5 fears, and 5 new beliefs. Boom, done. And maybe you go listen to a podcast or read a book that lights you up and changes your perspective. That's your mindset work. There will get to a point though, where you start to see this is like really shifting things. So if you're prioritizing posting and doing these like businessy things, then prioritize your mindset too. Because like I said, like if you, and I guarantee like all of the coaches who are making multiple 6 figures, they're telling you about their mindset work. You're like, nah, I got this. It's just not going to feel as easy as it can. Yeah, totally. I notice the longer I do my mindset work in any particular session, the deeper I go. It takes me 5 to 10 minutes to cut through my own bullshit. Exactly. And so as you're doing this work on yourself, you can take your clients deeper as well, because you're like, oh, I know what you're doing here. And you can cut through the bullshit. So that's one of the ways. So like mindset, journaling, podcasts, reading books, watching videos on YouTube. Those are all excellent ways to get a new perspective on things. So the next is embodiment and energy work. And I like to mix this with the mindset work, because if you're anything like me, I'm a Virgo, I'm a 2/4 emotional projector, I'm a quad left. So everything is like strategy, which is it's all right here, right? So like, this is where I live. And I need to drop that down into my body. So I can write forever. I sold out my program. Launching is easy, but there's a point where it's like, yeah, but my body doesn't believe it. I can just write out these beliefs forever, right? But if I'm not doing something to move those thoughts and just like really integrate it, if I'm not chair dancing on a daily basis, then it's going to stay up here and not feel real. So that's why I shared that song, because that's one of my go-to, like, so I'm looking at my whiteboard. So like another thing that I do too is I don't have it because I'm calling in 50 people for Ignite and I just don't have 50 spots available. But I'm doing like a little counter. But like with my smaller programs, I have, let's see. Of course, they're not readily available. I have these tiny, here they are. So I have these little Post-it notes and I put a little heart in each one and it's up on my whiteboard. So then when people sign up, I put their name in there. And so after I've done all my mindset work, there's 50 people on the way, 50 people's a done deal, 25K cash months are a sure thing. I'm a 6-figure business owner, like whatever your things are. Then I turn on the music and I may get up, or I may just kind of sit here and say out loud the things that I just wrote in my journal. And I see, right? So I'm like calling them in, and like I'm getting that movement, and I'm getting those thoughts move down into my body as I'm listening to this like fun, funky music. So I'm seeing it, my brain is locking into it. I'm saying it out loud. There's, 50 people in Ignite is a sure thing. I am reading out the I decides. And so that starts to really shift the energy. And maybe it's like jumping up and down. I know people have like those little trampolines to get out that like extra energy, right? Or if you're into like ecstatic dance, I know that I've seen some of you on Instagram where you're dancing, right? Like that's a great way to just start to really integrate it. And so if you mix the two, the mindset, the really powerful journaling, and shaking it out, and like, I know that this is a done deal. Like, we're just going to celebrate now because it's just a matter of time. It's not if this is going to happen, it's just when. And so really starting to change how you're thinking about it. Like, oh, wouldn't it be nice? No, it's fucking happening. Decide that it's happening and just decide that you're in it until it happens. And that's that piece too, that deciding piece changes everything. So it could just be like hip circles. Like, it doesn't have to be like anything super fancy. Like I said, I used to totally judge myself on like what other people were doing. Like, oh, it doesn't look like how they're doing it. Or like, I am not like super goddessy. Like, I'm not doing things with crystals and candles and shit like that. Right. And so I was like, oh, if my practice doesn't look like that, then I'm not doing it right. So you have permission to sit and fucking chair dance, do like the bare minimum and just like wiggle your body. Maybe it's just like massaging your arm and putting your arms in the air, right? So just whatever you need to do to start to move things through. There's breast massage. There is, like I said, there's the ecstatic dance. So just there's self-pleasure. There's like, I know that some people do like the sex magic stuff and they mix in their self-pleasure practices with the work that they're doing, and the money that they're calling in and the clients that they're calling in. So get creative, have fun. Don't make this like another chore. Just have it be something that is exciting, and it doesn't have to be more than a couple minutes, honestly. So don't set yourself up thinking that you have to do this for like hours at a time. There might be a point where you get like, oh, I spent multiple hours in meditation and doing all this stuff, but those people didn't start there. So the third piece to this, and then we'll also, hoop. Talk about like hip circles. That would be amazing. So the third part of this is brags. And this is one thing that I learned from my coach, who learned it from Mama Gina. She wrote the book Pussy. That is also another book that I highly recommend. It is about pleasure and just really tapping into different kinds of pleasure and what that can look like for everybody. So one of the things that we do in the group is in any container. So in my Facebook group, in any of the programs that I have, we brag. And the reason that we brag is because if you're a female or socialized as a woman in the world, we are taught to not be too proud, to not brag about our accomplishments, to, be smart, but not too smart, make money, but not too much money. Don't make more money than your partner, especially if they're a man. Don't do this. Don't be too much. Don't be right. Like, so there's a lot. And so when you're able to shine brightly amongst people who want to celebrate you, who are inspired by you, who are going to be triggered and activated, but that's their invitation to look at what's coming up from them for them. So when we are witnessed and seen, it just helps us digest what's happening. As things start to pick up in your business, I cannot tell you how important it is to digest everything, because it starts to get overwhelming. And we start to find new ways to fuck ourselves up and to trip ourselves up, to sabotage our success. So Gay Hendricks talks about this in The Big Leap, but we start to hit our upper limit problems. So you'll pick a fight with a partner, you will get sick, you'll get in an accident, you'll be late for an appointment, you'll sleep through your alarm, you'll not return messages. There's so many different ways that you sabotage it, because your body wants to keep you safe, and it wants to regulate you back to that level that you were, even if that level is you're struggling, you're not making enough money, you don't have the clients, but that's what feels safe. And so as you brag, as you digest, as you are witnessed in the greatness that's happening, you're able to start regulating at the new level. And this is also why adding this into your mindset work, like, this is my new normal. Getting hired while I'm in the bath is my new normal. Making 5K a month is my new normal. And so really starting to stretch yourself in your own mindset work. That's how you start to regulate yourself, and then claiming it. I declare and I decide that this program is sold out. Mark my words. And that's the energy that you're coming with. So our job with our clients is to stretch our clients, but we also have to be willing to stretch ourselves. And so that is what you're doing in your journaling. So, let's open it up again. So where are you maybe feeling resistance around mindset work, embodiment work, bragging? What's coming up for you? You can either put it in the chat box, or if you want to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Can I just share like a quick story around mindset work that might be helpful for folks?
Totally.
So I love bragging. I was also raised like, don't brag, be modest. And I really struggled with that as a kid, because everything in my body is like, you're fucking awesome and you should tell people about it. And then the world is reflecting back to us like, be modest and like, be sweet and be demure. None of those things are like a part of who I am. Anyways, so I've been doing a lot of mindset work around money for the last year. And I'm in a program right now where bragging is like very central to the work that we're doing. And last week, I had the biggest payment come through my Stripe account that I've ever received. And I meant to post it in the private group space. And I accidentally posted it to my personal Facebook page with like I'm a naughty girl for bragging. And like, here I am talking about money and I love it. And I'm so excited. And when I saw that it posted to my personal page, I panicked and I like gave myself a minute and decided to leave it up. And I had so many people either in the comments or reaching out to me in my DMs, like, thank you so much for sharing that. It's so helpful to see what's possible. And it was just like a really sweet moment of like, wow, okay. So like all of the shit that I've been hiding, like, because I was scared that someone's going to judge me, is actually, like really inspiring to people. And I think that we feel like people are going to judge us, and like, okay, there are people who are going to judge us. But I just like wanted to just share that like, there's so many people who like trust you and love you and like want to read what's going on behind the scenes in our businesses. And so, yeah, it was just like such a testament to like how much the mindset work really does help. And I'm really grateful for yeah, you driving this home in this training, Shannon, because like, it so matters. It so matters.
Yeah. Love it. I saw that. And then I saw your little blurb like, oh my God, I thought I was posting this. And it's just what you saw too, and how many people were supportive and thanking you it's just so important. Like there are always going to be people who are judging you, right? And there were probably tons of people who were triggered or like, fuck that bitch, or like, who does she think she is, right? They're always going to exist. And also, those aren't your people. That what they're seeing and what they're feeling is because there's a part of them that desires that or a version of that for themselves. And it's an invitation for them to work through that on their own. And so if we look at that and put that into our mindset work, my community loves to see me win. My community loves to see me be successful. My community loves to hear my brags. That starts to become your belief system. Also, I can handle any pushback. So like if there was anything or like anybody said anything on, on that post, like I trust that I can handle any shit that comes my way. I trust that I can have hard conversations. I trust that I have the tools to work through people's activations and triggers. And also remembering like not everything deserves an immediate response. So if you get activated on the post because somebody else was activated on the post, you can say, I need to take some time. I'll respond within 24 hours, right? So that you're not responding from an activated place. So this is just where you get to use your tools, right? Like it rarely does anything, if ever, require an immediate response. Emails, texts, posts, any of that. And so working that into that. But I love that example because this is where, and I would love to hear Lauren too, like how did it help you kind of process and digest that huge win?
Well, I want to say, first of all, like I've totally been that bitch on the internet who's like, fuck people for using income as a way to market their business. Like just because one person does it doesn't mean that the next person can do it. So I've definitely been that person. And it was helpful because it kind of, I like tend to look outside myself for validation, and I know I'm not alone in that. And like I noticed very quickly, like every response I wanted to say, like, this was an accident. I didn't mean to post it here. Like, I didn't mean to post it here. Like, this was supposed to be private. Like, I found myself wanting to make excuses. And it kind of gave me an opportunity. Like, there were like over 100 comments. So there was no way that I could like, I could have, but it was such a waste of energy to respond to each one of those things with this excuse. Instead, I could just say thank you and let people like shower me in love and gratitude. But the big takeaway for me was like this slowing down of like, okay, something happened. I'm feeling all kinds of ways about it. Can I like slow down? And instead of, like you said, instead of reacting, can I like slow down and like, just kind of like let those feelings, can I just feel them for a minute? And yeah, I think the sort of this like part of me that looks outside for validation also is like a piece of me that like wants to be accepted and wants to be loved and wants to be, like resists rejection. And it was very validating for me for people to be like, listen, Lauren, we trust you with this money. We trust you to receive this much. And it was just helpful to like have it out in the world. And it's like, okay, it's a real thing. It's not like some secret that I have to keep. I've been in business, Shannon, similarly, like I've been in business for a long time, and it's like taken me so long to feel like comfortable and confident in sharing this side of my business with folks. And yeah, it was just like very validating and affirming that like, oh yeah, like I don't have to keep this like back end of my business a secret. Yeah.
Love it. Also, I will say that you don't have to share your income wins. That might not be in alignment with the work that you're doing, your values. Check in with that also, like if it's bumping up against stuff, because maybe it's like some of the stuff that Lauren was talking about. But if it really has, like, my business is about helping people make money, get hired, get more visible, feel more confident, scale their business. So it would make sense that I'm sharing my numbers, their numbers, also the intangible stuff. But if it doesn't make sense for your business, don't feel pressured to share your money goals in public. I will say though, find a community or people that you can share those wins with in private, because that's how you're going to digest them. So you might not tell the world, like, this is how much money I made last year. But if you can find a mastermind, a smaller group, maybe you have business besties where you're, excuse me, where you are allowed and able to brag about your money wins and be witnessed and told how fucking rad you are, then please do that, because it will help you digest what's going on. Okay. So one more comment before anybody have anything else to say about brags?
I wanted to ask if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like the what if queen. So what if you've embodied it all and you're like, this will happen, it's all over here, and you're like really believing it about a launch, say, and then it doesn't happen in the way that you expect? Like, how do you not then the next time have the voice in your head going, oh, well, it didn't work last time?
Right.
Is that a bigger question, or is that just got to do the work, right?
I will say that your launch literally will never look the way that you think it's going to look. So the sooner that you can accept that, the easier this will feel, like the pressure. So I don't want to get off on a tangent on this, but like, we want to set goals or desires for our launches, because we want to know like kind of where we're going and like, what's the energy that I want to be holding for this? Because this is, again, like, it's all about like, how do we stretch ourselves? Like, how do we grow into these next levels? And so if we don't set any goals or desires or intentions, it's just kind of like, well, fuck it, whatever happens, happens. I don't know about you, but that's not how I want to run my business. I want to like go running towards what I desire. So I want to have this many clients. And when I set a specific number, it's with non-attachment, which is like the most fucked up thing, right? Like, so this is what I desire, and I'm not going to beat myself up. I mean, there might be a minute I might get butthurt, and I might have to talk to my coach and my community and be like, I'm disappointed, like, because I'm a human and I wanted this many people, because I know that this work will change lives, and I'll feel the feelings, but I don't stay there, because then it's celebrating, like, I'm celebrating the people who said yes, like they trust me. This many people trust me. Next time, great. What changes do I need to make? Do I need to tweak my launch a little bit? Do I need to tweak my content a little bit? Like, what felt like it didn't work during this last launch? Where could I given it more energy? Where did I feel like I kind of like fell off in the middle of the launch or wherever, right? So like, that's why we want to review, and you want to have a coach, right? To like help you review what felt good, what didn't feel good, what's a small tweak that we can make. What are systems that need to be put in place? What felt like a clusterfuck? So like, this is how you kind of like start to tweak things every time. It just gets easier and easier because you start to iron out the kinks. But if it's like, I have to get 20 people, and if I don't get 20 people, and I'm a loser, and you get 19 people and you're like, fuck this, flips desk, right? Like, that does not feel good. What are you hearing for yourself?
Yeah, no, that just described my life. Yeah, I'm like, I've achieved everything and got all the certificates and got all the things, but apparently one person doesn't know that, therefore I've failed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So this is also why it's really important. And module 2 of Ignite is about launching. And so the first part is like strategy heavy so that you get like the strategy piece. And then we're going to work out the mindset stuff and like all the other tweaks. But with the, 1 second. So as you start to look at this, like I said, like it gets easier. And you start to see where are the gaps, where can I fill them in? And what small tweaks? And then where did my mind start to just go into the gutter? Like if you're not doing mindset work regularly, please like commit to it at least during the 6 weeks of your launch. Because that's really going to shift things. Uh-oh, good luck, Noreen. 1 second. I'm just gonna. Okay. Did that answer your question, Michelle? Cool. Okay. So, we'll move into the next part. So, but before we get to the third part of releasing the shame and the fear, I want to really quick tell you about Ignite. I've been chatting all about it. So this is my signature 12-week program. It's social media marketing and storytelling. It's so much more than that. As you've been learning, right? Like it's so much deeper than the strategy. And if you are posting and ghosting, if you are not consistent, if you are finding yourself just kind of like disappearing from the internet, beating yourself up because you haven't been posting as much as you think you should be posting, this is definitely an opportunity for you to work through that stuff and really start to create just like a better relationship with how you're showing up and learning how to just make everything okay. So I did see in the comments, someone said, I didn't post for 2 days and then I'm beating myself up. Like the thing with this is just like, what is consistent for you? Do not judge what other people's consistency looks like. I have 3 team members handling it. So I am so consistent, right? It doesn't look, but it's not me. So if you are judging yourself based on what other people are doing, you have no idea what their team looks like, what their content bank looks like, how much money they're investing in graphics and all of these things, right? So during Ignite, it's storytelling, sales, launching. You're going to get all of that support because it's all tied in together. If you aren't confident about your program and you're not confident about your pricing, then of course you're not going to show up online and talk about it. If you're not working through your mindset piece and you're making everything harder, like of course you're going to post and ghost because you don't want to be bothered answering all of the responses because there's just like fears and doubts and all of the things coming up. If you haven't looked at, they call it the good girl conditioning. If you haven't explored that or like that, not enough, not good enough or too much, which is the same side, different sides of the same coin. Of course, there's going to be a fallout or a breakdown. So this is a beautiful mixture of strategy and structure. If you know me and you're following me, that is my jam. That is what I'm really fucking good at. And when you have the strategy and structure down, it lightens your load so that you're no longer focusing on how everything looks and getting everything exactly right. Like you have the thing set up. Great. Like now it's time to focus on how do I feel about my program? What can I share with my community today? How can I talk about this in a way that makes sense? How can I address objections? Then we get to really focus on the stuff that actually matters. It's not the strategy, but our brains go to default, must do more, need to redo website, have to have a perfect graphic, right? It's not about any of that. And so we'll cover all of that and talk about that. So this is, if you've seen how I've been showing up, if you've seen how my clients have been showing up, this is the exact stuff that we work on in the mastermind, in all of my containers, in one-on-one. And so I've broken this down into smaller pieces for you in a program that is much more accessible. If you check your email, the email should have already gone out, so it should be in your inbox. And so we get started on February 14th. There are bonuses that are already in the portal for you so that when you get signed up, you have immediate access. So there's 6 weeks of launch prompts so that you're not racking your brain trying to figure out what to talk about. I've created a call to action worksheet because this is something that also trips people up. Like, how do I fucking ask people to sign up? Like, how do I invite them into conversations? What's this supposed to look like? So there's one for your sales cycle, and then like a list for your sales cycle, and a list for like your nurture and community growth cycle. There's the workbook on addressing objections. So I list the objections, and then I give you ideas and prompts on how to address the objections in your content. And then there's a Facebook marketing masterclass. So if you want to learn how to use your Facebook profile or your group on how to market your programs and your business, then that's there for you. Also, just to sweeten the deal, if you get signed up within 24 hours, there's an extra $50 off. So right now, so it'll mean that it's $200 off the regular pricing. Early bird ends Friday. So if you have any questions, I can answer them at the end as well. The code is Ignite50. So you can grab that, get signed up. That $50 will be taken off of your first payment. So your first payment will be $100 if you pick the 9-month payment plan. So super accessible, fucking unheard of. This is a stellar program. I'm so fucking excited to be launching it again. I took a little break last year, but it is back and better than ever. So, okay, let's hop into the last piece of this. So 3 ways to release the fear and shame. So this is covered in modules 4, 6, and 8. So it's a little smorgasbord of those 3 modules. So this is the part that keeps us hiding. This is the part that keeps us small, keeps us from not speaking up, keeps us from not taking that next step forward, from not making that investment, from not signing up for the thing that we know is going to change how we operate. And the shame is the part that keeps us from getting our stories out into the world. So I talked about this earlier, which is I've seen it in myself. I have had to work through a lot of my own stuff around being too much, too loud, too proud, too boisterous, not being feminine enough, not being, goddessy or girly enough, having a filthy mouth, right? Like all of the things, like whatever it is, you're wrong. And that's how we're raised, and that's what we're fed. And of course, that's going to lock into how we're showing up, how we're expressing ourselves. And it does not serve us well in an online business if we're not talking about how fucking good we are and why we're good at what we do. And it is a direct opposite. So it's bumping up against the messages that we got. And so here I am saying, like, tell the world how amazing you are and talk about your story, right? But there's deep, deep stuff. Not to mention there are cultural issues, there's cultural shame, right? There's religious stuff, there's ancestral stuff. There are very real reasons, very valid reasons why people are scared and fearful and aren't showing up in the way that they desire. And so as this starts to bump up against your beliefs, so there's the beliefs that you've been fed, and then your desire to run and build a successful business. And so like what is this going to look like? And so then we get in our head like, oh, I'm narcissistic. People are going to think that I'm annoying. All of these selfies that the algorithm wants me to make. Geez, right? Like what, who cares about my story? Other people have had it bad enough, worse than I have. That's one thing that I hear a lot. Like my life wasn't that bad. But then I also hear like, oh, my story is too bad. Like it's like people can't handle all of me. And also, oh, I don't have a rags to riches story. So like people getting in their head because like I actually had like a really good life. Like I didn't do drugs. Like my parents are still married. I don't have a rags to riches story. So like now I can't market myself. And it's all just ways, right, that we keep ourselves from showing up because we're telling ourselves that it's just not good enough. And so this is an opportunity for us to start digging into this. So work that you're doing with a coach, maybe with a therapist, maybe you're doing like mirror work, shadow work. So really start thinking about your too much stories and really starting to look at where did these come from? So what are the beliefs that I have around where do I feel like I am too much? What stories, what were some things that I was told as a child that made me believe that I was too much? And then the opposite. So what stories or what was I told that said that I wasn't good enough? Right. And so then, oftentimes, and so like, who were these stories from? So was it like a specific person? Was it from multiple people? Was it from magazines? Yeah. Too fat, too loud, too dramatic, too sexy, too flirtatious. Yeah. Because these are the voices that we're hearing as we start to step out into our greatness. Like I know for me that it is specifically my mother. That is where, yeah. Like, of course, there's like, magazines and society and like music videos, right? Those were really I don't know if people still watch music videos, but those are really popular, like MTV, right? I don't know what goes on with, but I think maybe it's YouTube, but right. But what I have seen is as things start to pick up, if I am not countering these thoughts and beliefs and consistently dissecting them, oh, that's interesting that my brain would tell me that. Where's this coming from? Oh, and this is work too that you can be doing with a therapist, with a coach. Yeah, my butt's too big. I'm too sensitive, stupid. Yeah. But this is the work that will help you to shift. And even if it's just small increments, right? It's one, baby steps are still steps. So even if it's a small shift, one thing that Gay Hendricks talks about in The Big Leap, just lost my train of thought. Hold on, maybe it's in my notes. 1 second. Nope, it's gone forever. maybe it'll come back. So thank you for sharing. So who's told you that you're too much? Same person. Oh, I remember. Okay. So one thing that he talks about in the book is that if you can start to look at your thoughts as separate from you, instead of like, oh, I'm too much, I'm too loud. If you can separate with, oh, my inner critic is telling me that I'm too loud, that I'm too much. And you can put a barrier or divider and separate yourself from the thoughts. Oh, this is my upper limit problem. My upper limit always tells me that I'm a fucking loser. My upper limit tells me that I can't have what I want. My upper limit tells me that I shouldn't talk about desiring or having X, Y, and Z. And I know that it's outside of me, because inside of me, I am deserving, I am worthy, I like everything is on its way. And I truly believe it is just a matter of time. I am in it to win it. Like that's our core essence. And then here comes all of the shit. And so if we can put a barrier between the shit and our core essence, we're able to make that separation. And so I offer that to you. That's one of the things that will truly start to shift things when you see like, this isn't me. I'm like, we're perfect. Like we are so amazing and truly wonderful. And we have these gifts and we were given the knowledge and the skills that we have so that we can help people. And then the world and these thoughts and beliefs are going to come in and try to like, you know, push us down. So the next piece, and we've kind of touched on this with the embodiment work, but this is another part of embodiment work. And it goes in with it mixes in with the mindset work as well. But this is like the energetics around it. And so this is a practice. It's a mindset practice. It's not a mindset perfect. So this is a practice that you get into. And as you start to spend more time in possibility and in desire and in pleasure. And as you do this, you start to get into the energy of what it is that you desire. And so the vision letters, the writing as if it's already happened, maybe it's doing future brags. And we'll talk about this like in the launching too. So like as you're launching and going through a launch, you're writing out like you just closed the launch, you got all the signups, you're writing that it's like it's already done. And so then the next piece of that work is like, great, I'll just share a story. So for the longest time, I was like, I'm a six-figure coach. I'm a six-figure coach. I did not become a six-figure coach until I was like 6 years in. And it felt really far away for a really long time. So I had to back it up, right? So it was like, I make 5K a month, because that brought it down enough where I was like, okay, I can wrap my head around this. So figure out like what your next level is and like what feels stretchy. But for me, like as things were moving, it was, I'm a six-figure coach. And then the work that I did was, okay, so how does six-figure Shannon show up? Like these were the questions that I was asking myself in my journal. How does she show up? What is she wearing? What is she talking about? What is she not talking about? What is she doing? What is she not doing? What does she spend her time doing? What does her daily activities look like? Like I wanted to, like, what is this bitch doing? Like, how does six figures, like, what does Shannon look like? And then the next question is, how am I already showing up as this next version? And this isn't like fake it till you make it. But it's like, this is what I desire. How do I already, and like, this is us coaching ourselves because this is the conversation we would have with our clients. Great. So like, what do you desire? Where are you already doing some of this in your life? How can you do more of that? What does this look like? And so if that's your focus, like this is how you start to bring yourself closer. You start to shorten the gap between what you desire and how you're showing up now. And so as you're living in this place of possibility, as you things start to shift for you. You start to embody this next level. Tara Moore does the inner mentor, the inner mentor visualization. We might have this as one of, Amelia, I don't know if you're still on here. This might be one of the bonuses, I think, of the inner. If it's not, I can make it, but I have one anyway. But you start to think about, like, what is she wearing? How is she showing up? What can I start to do to, like, as you get this vision of your next level self, maybe in the vision you saw a painting. And so you get a painting that looks similar because you see this and you're like, it's on its way. I know it's happening. Or maybe like the next, like in the vision, the next level you had on maybe this robe. And so you find a robe, and every time you wear it, you're just like, you can just sit and dance in the possibility, right? Of like, I know, like, I feel like her, I feel like them when I wear this robe, and I know it's just a matter of time and it's already on the way. And that's how you get into that energy. Yeah, who would I need to be to step powerfully into my future? And so this is the other piece of the embodiment work. So there's the like physical dancing, right? But then like, this is like, how do you get your body on board and your brain on board of what is possible and what you want to draw closer to you? Love it. And so the next piece of how to just really starting to alchemize the shame is the storytelling piece. So I know it's Brene Brown. I'm going to butcher this because I didn't copy the quote, but basically when we tell our stories in public, or if we share our stories, it helps to we just start to burn off. This isn't her quote at all. I think it's just like the gist of it. Excuse me. But it's basically when we shine a light onto our shame and onto our stories, it starts to melt that away. Again, do not share while you're in breakdowns. If you're just like word vomiting and like sitting in your shit, like that is not the time to share. If you are moving through it and you see a breakthrough or there's a takeaway and it feels good and in alignment, then yes, possibly. But when you're like in the thick of it, because it starts to break down the trust of your community, and they're like, oh, well, they're like really struggling right now, so I'm going to let them handle their stuff. I'm not going to hire them. And then your community starts to feel like they want to take care of you, which is like the exact opposite of what we're hoping for. So just be careful with that. So as you are sharing your story, maybe you need to clear, maybe you need to be witnessed, maybe you need to swamp. Again, that's in the book Pussy. If you want to learn more about swamping, Kevin. But sharing your story in smaller groups and being witnessed is an opportunity for you to start to heal some of that. So where have you built that trust? And maybe it's one-on-one, maybe it's still not sharing online in a smaller group. Maybe you cultivate your own community. That is selfishly why I created my Facebook group, was because I was getting sober and I like didn't know where to go. And so I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself. So that could be an option to get those conversations off your main wall and into your own group where you can have more intimate conversations with people. And this is also really about like building the vulnerability muscle and that resiliency. And it takes time. if you are a natural storyteller, this might come easier for you. If it is not something that you have literally any desire to do, don't beat yourself up. Some people don't want to tell their story, and it is not necessary if it doesn't feel good. So remembering not to judge yourself based on other storytellers, like, oh, they have such a bad, like they have such a like rags to riches story, right? Like your story is perfect, because if somebody, like not everybody needs a rags to riches story, right? Like maybe they also don't have one. So they're like, that feels like that's like a lot of information. I just want someone who like had like a similar upbringing. Like, you know, kudos to them for being a warrior. And also, like not everybody needs that story. So just really lean into that and trust that your story is perfect as it is. Your story matters. Again, making this part of your mindset work. People can't wait to hear my story. People can't wait to read my next post. People love to follow me on social media and hear about what I'm doing. People love my cats, and they know me for my travels and Kevin, and right. And so again, like working that into your mindset work. But my story matters. People can't wait to hear more about my life, and people love hearing about what I've gone through. And so as you are building that muscle, you can either rip the Band-Aid off, or you can tiptoe out and slowly share it and adjust to that new level of vulnerability. And then maybe share a little bit more next time, and then you adjust to that level of vulnerability. But Brene Brown does talk about that vulnerability hangover, which is very real, right? Where you post something, it's big, and then you just like disappear for a couple of days. Which is totally okay. Make it okay. If that's what you know that you do, like make it okay, take the weekend off and then come back. Okay, so I want to open this up to Q&A. As promised, I went over. This is whatever questions, if you have questions about the program, questions about the content today, about launching or sales or anything that we cover in Ignite, I'm happy to do that, you know, for the next 20 minutes, or if you don't have questions, and we can just say goodbye. Can you hear Kevin meowing? It's like the most pathetic meow. It's like, yeah. You know, David Beckham, when you're like, oh, he's like fucking sexy. Look at all those tattoos. And then he's like, hey guys, come on over to the football field. That's what Kevin is.
Mate, what are you saying about the English?
That's so funny.
So I have a question, if that's okay. And it's probably a like, so basically I love everything that you do. So I just want to say thank you, first of all, for like the space and allowing this and stuff, because I do feel like you're giving away so much, and it's just amazing. So thank you for that. But so at the moment I'm still training with my coaching provider, with my training provider. So I kind of have to pay for that at the moment. Gotcha. So would you ever run it again on, you know, because you're doing the 12 weeks now, is it like every year, or how do you plan on doing it? Yeah, it's once a year. Oh. Okay. You are welcome. There's so much in the chat box to go through. I'm actually gonna save the I think the chat saved. Okay. Do you feel like one would need to do Business Unleashed first? No,
No, they're complementary. So the Business Unleashed obviously is like very, like, hold on, let me let him out. Come on. Hold on. Say hi to everybody first. If you don't know Kevin. Hello. Okay. Oh. Obviously, so I mean, Business Unleashed is going to be very much more like business focused. And there definitely is some overlap in this program with that program. So you're still going to get support around sales, but we're not going to be covering creating your program. We're not covering, certain like key pieces. But if you have a good enough idea of what you want to offer and like what that looks like, then we'll be talking about how to launch it, like how to get behind the pricing. So I guess it just depends on where you are with that. And if you have your program created, then you could join this, and then we would talk about how to talk about it, how to sell it, how to launch it, all that stuff. Yeah, Maggie's in. Oh, also another piece. So I have alumni pricing. So if you're thinking about it, and then moving forward, you'll always get a nice alumni rate of $299 when you join subsequent years. So you could just keep coming in and signing up for the calls and getting the new content if it's created. So that's also a perk of my group programs. I'd be happy to chat in the DMs, Marlene, if you wanted to send me a message, and then we can chat in there about it. But I won't be doing sales calls for this just because it's just too much. But I'm happy to always go through that in the DMs. Yay. Okay. Anyone else? Awesome. Cool. So I would love to have all of you there if it feels like a good fit. There are, yes, DM on Facebook. There's alumni coming in and people are already getting signed up, and then you get that extra $50 off. If you didn't receive the email with the code, then just send me a DM and we'll make sure that we get that to you. Thank you, friends, for joining me. I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you inside. Bye.